thinking about I should bring a mask or some sort of a disguise before I make this statement. We have our AV folks. We need to stop saying, oh, it's the network. Oh, it's the network. That just means I don't know what's going on. And our IT/networking folks need to stop saying AV is IT adjacent or quasi IT. Let's be honest. These worlds are married now. Everything.
Hang on. I want to poke this bear even further. Are you saying that AV is IT?
AV is IT, believe it. Well, we are not quasi-IT. We are not IT adjacent.
Legendary adjacent.
Android end-of-life concerns around Teams rooms. M&A season is in full swing and implementing zero trust in your AV network. All that and more next on AV Week. This is AV Week, episode 770, recorded Friday, May 22nd, 2026. Trust nothing. This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of the biggest news and stories in the AV and the IT world. M&A season is in full swing. Samsung narrowly avoids a strike that would have rocked their memory chip market. And a Scandinavian battery company thinks it can end your disposable battery headache for good. Let's get into it. First up, Panasonic is buying its way deeper into the workflow. Panasonic Projector and Display has acquired UK-based Hive Media Control, the company behind the B-Blade media server platform. Now, why does this matter to you? Hive's media servers are the engines behind some of the most ambitious permanent installations in the world. BBC Earth Experience, National Museum of Qatar, even a Michelangelo Sistine Chapel exposition. And B-Blade is built on the Intel SDM standard, meaning it slides directly into compatible displays with no external box, no extra cabling, a whole lot less rack space. Panasonic CEO says the company is moving beyond a hardware-oriented model toward what he calls broader visual solutions and workflow value. Translation here, Panasonic does not just want to sell you a projector anymore. They want to own the content pipeline behind it. Hive will continue to operate as a standalone vendor-neutral business, which matters if you're running Hive with anybody else's displays. Staying in acquisition territory, one of the most recognizable names in digital media has a new owner. Sweden-based Vertisite has acquired Scala from Stratacache for roughly $25 million. Scala has been around since 1987. It's deployed over 1,000 global brands. It powers digital signage in fashion, automotive, airports, grocery, and QSR, and it has been part of Stratacache since 2016. The sale comes after a rough year for Stratacache, layoffs, supply chain disruption, surging memory prices, and 2 UK subsidiaries put into liquidation. Vertisite, which already owns the DICE signage platform, says it's going to do 2 things with Scala. 1, return Scala to a partner-first model after years of direct sales under Stratacache. And 2, accelerate the move to a modern SaaS device-agnostic platform. Here's what you need to know. If you're running Scala today, a platform refresh is certainly coming. That means new licensing models, potential hardware flexibility, and a change in how you're sold to. If you're evaluating signage platforms right now, ask hard questions about the migration path before you sign anything. And closer to home, and by home I mean AVNation CTI home in St. Louis, CTI has made its 3rd acquisition of 2026. CTI has acquired Valley Communications Systems of Chicopee, Massachusetts. Now, Valley Communications brings an 80-year legacy of 3-generation leadership to CTI. The deal extends CTI's coverage throughout the Connecticut River Valley, including Boston, Hartford, and Albany markets. CTI is now the largest privately held AV integration and events provider in the United States, with 47 locations nationwide, operations in the UK, and global reach through the PSNI Global Alliance. CEO John Laughlin said what stood out immediately about Valley was the culture and the people. Here is a story that almost went the exact opposite direction. Samsung reached an 11th hour deal with its labor union late Wednesday night, averting an 18-day strike that was set to begin May 21st. Negotiations went to 90 minutes before the midnight deadline. The deal? Samsung introduces a new performance bonus system for its semiconductor division, ties worker payouts to profitability, and agrees to an average wage increase of 6.2%. The South Korean benchmark index jumped more than 6%. Samsung's own stock rose as much as 7.6%. Now, why should you care? Samsung is the world's largest supplier of the memory chips that go into everything, including Samsung displays, of course, media players, signage controllers, video processors, servers, and even projectors. Memory pricing is already affecting vendors like Stratacache, who got squeezed this year. And finally, let's talk about the least glamorous item in your AV budget. Batteries. I'm not kidding. Batteries. Clever, spelled KLVR, a Scandinavian rechargeable battery company built by sound engineers and music artists, has officially launched in the United States. Their flagship product is the Clever Charger Pro. It is a 19-inch rack-mounted charger. It holds 48 proprietary 1.5-volt lithium-ion batteries, either AA or AAA. Those batteries are rated for 1,200 charge cycles, with 30% higher runtime than standard commercial rechargeables. One pack of 48 batteries used to full lifetime capacity eliminates the cost of up to 57,600 disposable batteries over 3+ years. Distribution is live now through MBH Solutions, the Penn Group, and Yep Technologies, and Clever is one of the stops on the Technologies in Practice tour we are doing along with AV Buyers Club at InfoComm 2026. That is your AV news for the week. Stick around where our roundtable experts discuss zero trust in AV networks and Android end of life for Teams rooms. That conversation is next. This is AV Week. All right, welcome back with us to discuss some more topics and things. First and foremost, Kelly Teal with Jacobs Engineering. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, as always, for having me.
Good to see you. My buddy George Chaco from over at Pace University. Welcome, sir.
How's it going? Good to be back on the show.
Good to see you. And Dr. Mark Pescatori from SCN. Welcome, brother.
Great to see you.
Anybody who has a PhD, I absolutely want to make sure that they get at least those props at least once in a while.
I'm considering a PhD. Does that count?
No, absolutely not. That's the ABD, all but dissertation. Sorry, dude. You're still just ABD.
I've been considering it for the last 5 years.
Okay, yeah. Nothing. You got nothing, George. Sorry. All right. Our first topic comes from two different stories, and I'll try to wrap these together as best as I can. Earlier in May, the hacking group Shiny Hunters hit Instructure, the parent company of Canvas. Now, we covered this in the newscast 2-3 weeks ago. The learning management platform, Canvas, is used by more than 30 million students, 8,000 institutions globally. The timing was pretty rough. Students at Columbia, Rutgers, Princeton, Harvard, Georgetown, dozens of K-12 districts. I know U of I, Truman State. Some of my daughter's friends were posting on Snapchat. Apparently, they were on the middle of finals week, and this company held them for ransom. Quite frankly, it was Instructure's second breach in a month. Meanwhile, on the AV side of the house, a new nonprofit called AV Trust launched back in February. Their mission is pretty pointed. Get our industry serious about cybersecurity before a Canvas-style incident lands on us. Now, co-founder Colin Burney points out the uncomfortable truth. Commercial AV is everywhere, in every conference room, hospital, university, everywhere. All right? It is now classified as IoT, some sort of network, which means it's treated with the same distrust as an IP camera you buy from Dollar Tree. If you're not in the States, go look up what Dollar Tree is. AV Trust wants to change that vulnerability through cataloging, education, and helping shape standards before regulators write them for us. Chaco, I'm going to start with you because you're the closest to ground zero on this. Not saying that Pace uses Canvas, but generically, overarching, what is the best practices? What are the best practices today, and what are the best practices for the next couple of years for the network that is increasingly all of the network with AV gear on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Tim. And this is the one time I will say that we are a D2L school, and we are glad that we were not a part of that issue. However, we also know that we are just one or two instances away from being in that situation. So yes, we are actively looking into it, what the recoveries are, so on and so forth. But man, the timing on that was rough. But that being said, coming back to AV, I'm going to make a blank. And I was actually thinking about this, and I was thinking about I should bring a mask or some sort of a disguise before I make this statement. But I want to go ahead and say it because I forgot my disguise upstairs. There are two things one statement about two different people who are the same people. We have our AV folks. We need to stop saying, oh, it's the network. Oh, it's the network. That just means I don't know what's going on, right? It's blatantly obvious. And our IT/networking folks need to stop saying AV is IT adjacent or quasi IT. Let's be honest. These worlds are married now. Everything.
Hang on. I want to poke this bear even further. Are you saying that AV is IT?
AV is IT, believe it. Well, we are not quasi-IT. We are not IT adjacent.
It's george.chaco@pace.edu.
There you go.
Continue.
You can find me on LinkedIn. I will gladly take on any bullets.
Just for the record, and I don't, I'm in the same boat as George, so you can hit me up too. Keep going, Chaco.
Yeah. So, let's start with that. Let's start with, we need to start working together. We all fall under the IT umbrella. Anytime you plug in a network cable, guess what? You're putting the network at risk. Okay. So, zero trust is, I think, an absolute necessity in today's world. We need to put our devices, the said $5 Dollar Tree camera, though doesn't have many features, is probably the biggest issue. You should isolate it from your network, right? If you take your network and you put it on an isolated VLAN of IoT where you don't have access to any other databases or administrative services, if somebody hacks into your digital signage display, the most they're going to get is a list of events happening on campus. The next Taylor Swift concert happening on campus at best, as opposed to a database of student information or private information. So yes, it is extremely important. I think all our devices should be, put on zero trust. And, that's my stance. Zero trust, isolated VLANs, AV, IT needs to happen now.
Kelly, you have spent more than a few years in the bowels of network design and implementation. What does your expertise say to you? What is the best practice here?
Well, I'm going to start by saying a few things first. The AV industry does have a massive cybersecurity trust problem. And honestly, I believe a lot of it is self-inflicted. For years, AV systems were treated like isolated hardware, right? So everything is in-network connected. Conference rooms, DSPs, cameras, control processors, digital signage, which is a big one. The problem is the AV industry evolved faster than its security practices did. And in the article, what I like about this article is it introduces that new nonprofit AV Trust, which was created specifically to address cybersecurity problems in commercial AV. And their argument is that AV manufacturers and integrators have not built enough credibility with IT and cybersecurity teams, and that's why AV is often viewed as a weak link on enterprise networks. One of the biggest points is that AV talks a lot about security buzzwords, especially zero trust, and often doesn't actually follow the principles behind it. So we can call out how vendors market systems as secure while still leaving behind unmanaged switches, undocumented devices, default credentials, hidden PCs, and unsupported firmware and proprietary control methods that IT departments can't properly monitor. We also need to point out something that people in the AV industry rarely say publicly is that vulnerabilities are often ignored. Researchers report bugs to manufacturers, and sometimes they get no response for months or ever. Some companies have mature vulnerability disclosure and patching programs, but many do not. And that kind of creates a trust gap where IT teams don't know which AV products are safe to allow on production networks. A key theme is that AV is now firmly part of the IoT world, whether the industry wants to admit it or not. And that means AV systems are no longer just displays and speakers like they used to be. They're network endpoints with attack surfaces. And the entire argument is that the AV industry still behaves like it's exempt from normal IT governance and cybersecurity standards. And it's interesting because, zero trust in cybersecurity originally means trust nothing by default, verify everything continuously. But in AV, there's almost a second meaning emerging because IT departments literally do not trust AV anymore, and they don't trust undocumented devices. They don't trust vendors who don't patch vulnerabilities. They don't trust systems that require bypassing security policies just to function. I think honestly, that's probably why this topic resonates so much right now, because modern AV is no longer separate from that IT infrastructure, but parts of the industry still operate with old school habits from when the systems were isolated and offline. It creates a major problem, quite honestly, for AV, because meeting rooms are expected to stay operational for 5 to 10 years. But then the Android ecosystems often evolve much faster than the physical room hardware does. So,
we'll get to Android in a second.
Yeah, I think either AV starts acting like an enterprise IT with real security standards, third-party testing, vulnerability disclosure processes, and lifecycle management, or IT departments and regulators are eventually going to start forcing those standards and onto the industry anyways. So it's going to be something that happens if we do it or if we implement it or not.
Can I jump in on one little thing there, Tim? I mean, I came in swinging at networking folks and AV folks. I'm going to take another one while I'm here. I'm just going to cause myself a lot of trouble before Infocom at this rate. But Kelly, you mentioned something that resonates very strongly with me. We love our gray and black boxes. We love our Tron boxes, our amp boxes, you name it. We love those rectangular sharp edge boxes, and they sit in our racks for 5-10 years. And we say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We use it. We beat that term to death, right? It's time to look past that. Legacy devices, it don't belong the way security is, and where everyone is looking for the tiniest opening to get into some kind of leverage. Those boxes, while robust, and yes, I do agree they work. Why touch them? They really need to be relooked at and redesigned in a stronger security manner. So that was just my.
No, that's good.
I agree, Kelly.
Pescatore, you and I are going to head to Infocom in about 3 weeks. And we're going to ask a lot of manufacturers a lot of different questions. What should you and I'm totally going to steal your notes here, so this is why I'm asking. What should you and I be asking those manufacturers about this very issue? And here's the thing. Mark and I have asked for years, what is the speeds and feeds, right? What does this do? What's the resolution of this? What is the transport of that, right? Then that is part of our job, right? It feels very much like our job needs to change ever so slightly to start asking questions about network security and device security and how people get into this box and how secure whether it's a black box or it's the software that sits on the cloud somewhere, how secure is the things that make the AV systems work?
Well, I'll tell you, Tim, I have trust issues. I'm the first to admit it.
Well, then you're ahead of the game.
Well, that's just it, though. Zero trust. This is where I live. Never trust, always verify. I think it's great. There are threats everywhere, inside and outside. Look, I went to a session at ISE earlier this year. The speaker was a man named Sean Reardon from DNV Cyber. He scared the hell out of me. And basically he said that cyber attacks are a given. It's a when, it's not an if. So you spend your resources now, or you're going to spend a lot more later. And he made me start thinking about history. If we look back and learn from history, and I was looking in 2013, that's when they had that Target hack. The bad guys got in there and they got information from roughly 40 million credit cards. And you know how they got in? Through a third party HVAC vendor. That's how they got in. Now, Pro AV products, they have so many potential points of entry. You got cameras, you got displays, you got audio equipment, and all this stuff connects to the network these days. You got default passwords, you got to update those. You got firmware patches. I mean, when is the last time you plugged something in that was new and it didn't need an immediate update? I am doing a review right now of this Insta360 Pro mic. Look, it's got e-ink. Very cool. But first thing I did, turned it on and it went, hey, there's an update. You got to update the firmware right out of the box. It happens all the time. So I love this idea of AV trust. Any industry-wide acknowledgement of cybersecurity threats and the subsequent efforts to create what Colin was calling in the article a culture of security, that's okay by me, because there are too many pieces of Pro AV equipment out there to just try and get by with the bare minimum. Because in our industry, the last thing we want to do is expose ourselves.
At a recent meeting at the British Medical Association's headquarters, end users of the AV user group pointed out that an issue that we are dealing with, and that is Android's end of life. Let me say that again. Android end of life. I actually had to look this up because I didn't think it was correct. It is. Here's the timeline that matters. Google officially ended security patch support for Android 13. That part is important, okay? Android 13. In March of this year, that is roughly 417 million devices worldwide right now running an unsupported operating system. That sounds scarier than it is. Let me show you why. There's a significant portion of those that are in Microsoft Teams rooms. There's Team phones, stuff like that, Teams everything. Microsoft extended its own certification for Android 13-based Teams devices out to August 15th of 2028. It's a full 2 more years. That actually gives them some time to ramp up MDEP and do their own thing. Because MDEP is based on Android. Full application support ends at roughly August 15th, 2030. The underlying OS, though, is already unpatched, which means you now have a known vulnerable operating system sitting on your corporate network in your conference room for roughly the next 4 years, unless you continue to update those things. Just like Mark said, there are updates. And this is where I will get on my soapbox for a second. I am going to talk to end users as well as to the integrators. When I was a programmer, one of the most difficult things was to get back into a client's system, into a facility, because we had a firmware update, quote unquote, okay? Even if that firmware update included drastic needed security patches. So from manufacturers to the integrators to the end users, you all need to start calling these things what they are. If it's a feature update, knock yourself out, call it a firmware update, I don't care. But if it's a security patch, call it a freaking security patch, right? Because you're much more likely to get back into the client's system if you call it a security patch. If you call it a firmware update, who freaking cares, right? It's a nice to have. You start calling the things like security patch, I will almost guarantee you'll get in a lot quicker. Kelly, you mentioned Android, so we'll start with you on this. How big of a deal is this? How concerned should we be? Or is MDEP going to save us all like Microsoft says that it's going to?
Yeah, so this is basically a wake-up call, in my opinion, for the AV industry, that meeting room technology is entering the same life cycle and cybersecurity problems that IT has been dealing with for years. The discussion at the AV user group centered kind of around a growing concern. Another growing concern. A huge percentage of modern meeting room systems are Android-based, especially Microsoft Teams rooms, scheduling panels, collaboration bars as well, and the beloved all-in-one conferencing appliances that save everyone money. The issue is that Android has a defined support lifecycle. And once those versions hit end of life, they stop receiving those security patches and long-term support. That creates a major problem for AV because meeting rooms are expected to stay operational again for 5 to 10 years. But Android ecosystems, those often also evolve much faster than the physical room hardware. So these companies are now realizing that they may have expensive conference room systems that are technically still functional, but are becoming unsupported from a cybersecurity and compliance standpoint. One of the biggest themes that we talk about is trust and transparency. AV managers, at this event specifically, were questioning whether manufacturers are being honest enough about product lifespan and Android dependencies. And a lot of customers assumed they were buying meeting room hardware when in reality they were also inheriting an embedded Android operating system with a ticking support clock attached to it. That's where the MDEP comes in and becomes important. The MDEP is Microsoft's attempt to standardize and secure the Android-based Teams devices by kind of creating a managed enterprise framework around them. The idea is to bring Android meeting room devices closer to enterprise IT expectations. So like centralized management, validated security baseline, coordinated updates, and longer term life cycle control. But it does raise an uncomfortable question. Does MDEP actually solve the life cycle problem, or does it just delay it? Because even with MDEP, the hardware still depends on Android underneath. If chipset manufacturers stop support or vendors stop maintaining the firmware, the room device can still become effectively obsolete, even if the display, camera, microphone, and speakers are physically fine. And that's where AV and IT are colliding, to be honest. Historically, AV equipment was purchased like furniture. Install it, leave it for a decade, but Android-based systems, they behave more like laptops or mobile devices, and they require patching and maintenance. So, and eventually replacement cycles.
Yeah, that's the interesting part about MDEP that I'm waiting to see. Mark, when it comes to, I mentioned the fact that you and I are going to ask some questions here. Take a look at our last story about AV trust and that. What would a reasonable industry standard look like? Is it a mandatory disclosure of the version, the OS version, a guaranteed, almost like a written contract where you say that this guaranteed patch is going to happen for so long, and then who enforces that? Like is this something where we go back to AV Trust, right? This nonprofit folks that are looking to create some standards to say, hey, look, this is what we need from you device manufacturers. A
disclosure that says this is running on this, and it will and this will continue to be supported for we promise for 5 years, but the fact of the matter is I don't want to sound heartless here, but this whole idea of Android, we're running out of time. It's nothing new. I mean, a buddy of mine, he loved his, I'm going to go back here, Palm desktop for Palm software. He loved it. This guy used this software long after upgrading his phone, and he finally gave it up, but mostly because the software was discontinued in 2010, and he just trying to get it to work with a modern OS, it just wasn't worth the effort. But I mean, this man held on with both hands. But and it made me think, especially because we were talking about Microsoft, it made me think of my old Xbox system. Yes, I play games, and my old Xbox games don't work on my Xbox One, so they're certainly not going to work on the Xbox S that came out 6 years ago that I didn't buy, and it probably won't work on the next console that's due out in 2027. I mean, well, I guess what I'm saying is hardware and software obsolescence. It's a fact of life. There are too many upgrades. I mean, we're currently on Android 16. I know this whole thing was talking about 13. We're on 16. My phone, I have a phone here from 2023 that has Android 15, which came out in 2024. It didn't upgrade automatically to 16, so I'm guessing it doesn't have the firepower to do that. So Google sent out this final security patches in March, as you mentioned. Certification ends in 2028. Full support ends in 2030. To me, that's plenty of time, because this should not be a surprise to anybody in Pro AV or IT. It gives you plenty of time. It's not happening in a bubble. But I will say, if you fail to plan for this undeniable obsolescence, it's going to cost you a bundle.
Absolutely. And Pescatore, we'll talk offline. I've got some tricks on how you can play your old Xbox 360 games on your Xbox One.
I have a couple working, but not all of them.
There's a way to do it.
There are a couple of discs I just can't let go.
As an Xbox guy myself, there's a way to do it. So we'll discuss later. George.
And I'm sure it's perfectly legal and legitimate.
Absolutely. Perfectly legal. 100%. I am not kidding. I am not kidding. 100% perfectly legal.
Overlord, you heard that. Perfectly legal.
Yes, perfectly legal. You can hit me up at tim@avnation.tv and I'll tell you how to do it too, perfectly legally. I am not kidding about that. No tongue in cheek. George, you'll have the last word on this. What do you need to know and who should you get the information from?
Sure. But first I want to say I'm a PlayStation guy, and recently I tried to...
I can't help you.
My PS5 is commandeered by my 13-year-old. I don't get it anymore. But I heard that Twisted Metal and was available on PS5, the original one. Wow. So I ran and I paid $10 to download it. Man, it does not work. It was horrendous. So there's $10 that was absolutely wasted. But besides that, anyways, what do we need to know? Again, I think the first story and this story have a lot in common here. And I think it is time that we start understanding how IT works, what our baseline is, let's not try to whitelist a AV device because it's been there since 2005 and it's been safe. Let's not do that, right? Let's figure out what the roadmap is for a particular piece of gear. In higher ed, the issue is we have hundreds, in some cases thousands of rooms that you're setting up these boxes. We're a Zoom school for classes and meetings. So I have a lot of Zoom rooms on campus. But guess what? They use the same Android device in the back, right? I have scheduling panels outside my classroom. Same Android brains and behind that box too. So yeah, we're all going to feel that but what we need to do is we need to understand what the scope is, what the future holds, and build and design our spaces, design our rooms to be ready for changes like this, right? Just because it's the cheapest option or because it's a cool new toy in the market, do your homework. See if that roadmap says, this company's been around and they're not just going to shut down in 2 years because they're going to a new OS or something like that, right? Figure out there's quality over cheapest solution, right? So know what you're getting yourself into, understand the design, and plan ahead in situations like this, but really understand the nitty-gritty of IT along with AV, because we can't be siloed anymore. We are the same. That's my final swing before.
Final swing of AV and is IT. So
yeah, but I got a question, George. How do you plan ahead? I mean, do you literally take part of your budget and sort of put it off to the side for the inevitable?
Yeah, I'm not sure which language I'm allowed to use, but it's called "oh crap" money. You make a small pile for "oh crap" money. Yes, absolutely. Whatever your budget is, add 20% to it. Easier said than done.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like that. Oh crap money. All right. Thank you all. Kelly Teal, thank you, ma'am. Good to see you. How do people connect with you or Jacobs Engineering?
I myself am on LinkedIn under Kelly Teal, and there is a Jacobs Engineering page on LinkedIn as well.
All right. Very good. Good to see you as always. Mr. Chaco, thank you, sir. You and I can get beat up together at Infocom. How do people connect with you or Pace?
Looking forward to it. You can reach me at gchaco@pace.edu, or you can find me on LinkedIn, George Chaco -CTS, because apparently there is a ton of George Chacos out there.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of them. A lot.
Okay. There's not many Tim Albrights, thank goodness. There's a trombone player. Different conversation. Dr. Pescatori, thank you, sir. How do people connect with you or SCN?
Yes, I'm looking forward to seeing you at Infocom, but only briefly. I have no desire to be tackled. But people can reach me at avnetwork.com.
All right, very good. My name is Tim Albright. Do not follow me anywhere, but go by the website, please, avnation.tv. That is avnation.tv. You will find this program and a host of others, including a brand new EdTech, where Aaron Mayer Moran and the panel discuss certified devices, recycling AV gear, and the rising cost of equipment. Mentioned this a couple of times. InfoComm, of course, is coming down the pipeline. InfoComm 2026, June 17th through the 19th. We are doing our AVNation Access event. It is June 17th from 4 to 6 p.m. And we've got a little bit of a special announcement coming down the pipeline next week about that very event. If you are interested in things that I write about that have nothing to do with AV technology and more to do with, call it leadership and overcoming issues, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, but go by the website if you would. Please, avnation.tv. It's avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That's all the time we have for AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.